This audio is for educational purposes only. I hope this will add light to your journey. Please share this audio to your loved ones, family and friends. Thank you.
You forever. T. Lobsang Rampa. Lesson 3. We have already seen how the human brain generates electricity through the action of the chemicals, the water, and the metallic ores coursing through it, and of which it is comprised. Just as the human brain generates electricity, so does the body itself, for the blood is coursing through the veins and arteries of the body, also carrying those chemicals, those metallic traces, and the water. The blood is, as you will know, mainly water. The whole body is suffused with electricity. It is not the type of electricity which lights your house, or heats the stove with which you cook. Look upon it as of magnetic origin. If one takes a bar magnet and lays it down on a table, placing upon it a sheet of plain paper, and then sprinkles on the plain paper, above the magnet, a liberal supply of iron filings, one will find that the filings arrange themselves in a special pattern. It is worth making the attempt. Get an ordinary cheap magnet from a hardware store or scientific supplier. They are very, very cheap. Or you may be able to borrow one. Put a piece of paper across the top, so that underneath the magnet is located at about the center of the paper. From your chemist or scientific supply store, you will be able to obtain fine iron filings. Here again, they are very, very cheap. Sprinkle them on the paper, as you would sprinkle salt or pepper. Let them fall on the paper from a height of perhaps 12 inches. And you will find that these iron filings arrange themselves in a peculiar pattern, which precisely follows the magnetic lines of force coming from the magnet. You will find you have the central bar of the magnet outlined, and then you have curved lines going from each end of the magnet. The best way, the most profitable way, is to try it, for this will help you in your later studies. The magnetic force is the same as the etheric of the human body. The same as the aura of the human body. Probably everyone knows that a wire which carries an electric current has a magnetic field around it. If the current varies, that is, if it is known as alternating instead of direct, then the field pulsates and fluctuates in accordance with the changes in polarity. That is, it seems to pulse with the alternating current. The human body, which is a source of electricity, has a magnetic field outside it. It has a highly fluctuating field. The etheric, as we call it, fluctuates or vibrates so rapidly that it is difficult to discern the movement. In much the same way, one can have an electric lamp lighted in one's house, and although the current fluctuates 50 or 60 times a second, one cannot perceive this. Yet in some country districts, or perhaps aboard ship, the fluctuations are so slow that the eye can detect the flickerings. If a person goes too close to another one, there will often be a sensation of goose flesh. Many people, most people, are fully aware of the close proximity of another person. Try it on a friend. Stand behind your friend, and hold one finger close to the nape of his neck, and then touch him lightly. He will, often, not be able to distinguish between a closeness and a touch. That is because the etheric is also susceptible to touch. This etheric is the magnetic field which surrounds the human body. Figure 3. It is the forerunner of the aura, the nucleus of the aura, as one might say. In some people, the etheric covering extends for about 1/8 of an inch around every part of the body, even around each individual strand of hair. In other people, it may extend for some inches, but not often more than 6 inches. The etheric can be used to measure the vitality of a person. It changes considerably in intensity with the health. If a person has done a hard day's work, then the etheric will be very close to the skin. But, after a good rest, it will extend, perhaps 4 inches. It follows the exact contours of the body. It even follows the contours of a mole or a pimple. In connection with the etheric, it might be of interest to state that if one is subjected to a very, very high tension of electricity at negligible amperage, then the etheric can be seen glowing. sometimes pink, sometimes blue. There is a weather condition also, which increases the visibility of the etheric. It is met with at sea, and is known as St. Elmo's fire. Under certain weather conditions, every part of a ship's masts and rigging become outlined in cold fire. It is quite harmless, but rather frightening for those who see it for the first time. One can liken this to the etheric of a ship. Many people in the country have had the experience of going out into the countryside on a dark or misty night, and have looked at the high-tension wires stretching overhead. Under suitable conditions, they will have noticed a misty whitish-bluish glow. It looks rather eerie, and has given many an honest countryman a severe fright. Electrical engineers know this as the corona of high-tension wires, and it is one of the difficulties with which they are confronted. Because a corona sweeping down over insulators can ionize the air, so that there is a short circuit, and that may trip relays in power stations, and put a whole countryside into darkness. In these more modern days, engineers take very special and very costly precautions in order to minimize or eliminate the corona. The corona of a human body, of course, is the etheric, and it looks something the same as the discharge from high-tension wires. Most people can see the etheric of the body, if they will practice a little, if they will have patience. Unfortunately, people think that there is some quick and cheap way to the attainment of knowledge and powers which take the master's years. Nothing can be done without practice. Great musicians practice for hours every day. They never cease to practice. So if you want to be able to see the etheric and the aura, you must practice also. One way is to get a willing subject, and get that person to extend a bare arm. Have the fingers outspread. The arm and fingers should be a few inches away from some neutral or black background. Look towards the arm and the fingers. Not directly at it, but towards it. There is just a little knack in looking at the right place in the right way. As you look, you will see clinging closely to the flesh something that looks like a bluish-grayish smoke. As we said, it extends perhaps 1/8 of an inch, perhaps 6 inches, from the body. Quite often, a person will look toward the arm, and see nothing but the arm. That may be because they are trying too hard. It may be because they cannot see the wood for the trees. Let yourself become relaxed. Do not try too hard. And with practice, you will see that there really is something there. Another way is to practice on yourself. Sit down, and make yourself quite comfortable. Place yourself so that you are at least 6 feet from any other object, be it chair, table, or wall. Breathe steadily, deeply, and slowly. Extend your arms to full length. Place your fingertips together with your thumbs upwards, so that just your fingertips are in contact. Then, if you part your fingers, so that they are about 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch apart, you will perceive something. It may look like a gray mist. It may look as if it is almost luminous, but when you see that, then very, very slowly, draw your fingers further apart, 1/4 of an inch at a time. You will soon see that there is something there. That something is the etheric. If you should lose contact, that is, if the faint something should vanish, then touch your fingertips together, and start all over again. It is just a matter of practice. Once again, the great musicians of this world practice, and practice, and practice. They produce good music after their practice. You can produce good results in metaphysical sciences. But look again at your fingers. Watch carefully, the faint mist flowing from one to the other. With practice, you will observe that it flows from either the left hand to the right hand, or from the right hand to the left hand, depending not merely upon your sex, but upon your state of health, and what you are thinking at the time. If you can get an interested person to help you, then you can practice with the palm of your hand. You should get this person, if possible, a member of the opposite sex, to sit in a chair facing you. You should both extend your hands, your arms, at full length. Then, slowly bring your hand palm down, close to that of your friend who sits, palm up. When you are about 2 inches apart, You may find either a cool breeze, or a warm breeze, flowing from one hand to the other. The sensation starts in the middle of the palm. It depends on which hand it is, and which sex you are. Wet, you feel a cold breeze or a warm breeze. If you feel a warm breeze, move your hand slightly, so that your hand is not directly in line fingers to fingers, but at an angle, and you may find that the sensation of heat increases. The heat increases as you practice. When you get to this stage, if you look carefully, between your palm and that of the other person, you will see very distinctly the etheric. It is like cigarette smoke, which has not been inhaled. That is, instead of the dirty gray of inhaled cigarette smoke, it will be a fresh bluish tinge. We have to keep on repeating that the etheric is merely the outer manifestation of the magnetic forces of the body. We call it the ghost, because when a person dies in good health, this etheric charge remains for a time. It may become detached from the body, and wander like a mindless ghost, which is a thing completely and utterly different from the astral entity. We shall deal with all that at a later date, but you may have heard of old graveyards in the country, where there are no street lamps, etc. Many people say that they can see a faint bluish light on dark nights, rising up from the ground of a grave, which has only that day been made. That is actually the etheric charge, dissipating away from a newly dead body. You can say that it is similar to the heat, departing from a kettle which has been boiling, and has then been switched off. As the kettle gets cooler, the feeling of heat from the outer side obviously becomes less. In the same way, as a body dies, there are relative stages of death. Remember, the etheric force gets lower and lower. You can have an etheric hanging around a body for several days after clinical life has departed. But that will form the subject of a separate lesson. Practice, and practice, and practice. Look at your hands, look at your body. Try these experiments with a willing friend, because only by practice can you see the etheric, and, until you can see the etheric, then you cannot see the aura, which is a much finer thing.